I watched my niece's aim go awry. Then the cook on the farm sorted it out, leaving me shocked. What happened next was a whirlwind. Like a storm, the unusual spread through the air, thick like tension before the rain. At that moment, in the midst of bright screens and whirring machines in a glimmering tech office in Silicon Valley, everything felt electrifying. Emily Johnson, the janitor, wore her usual uniform, but that day it felt different, charged with energy. The people hustled past her like shadows, their faces twisted in worry, voices rising and falling like the chaotic symphony of a world at risk. She could sense the urgency, like a pulse thrumming in the air. A vital server was down, just hours before a pivotal presentation. Panic seeped through the room. Even the boldest tech geniuses, usually so composed, were drowning in doubt. Emily's heart raced, but not from fear. It was purpose. She surveyed the chaos, her sharp eyes catching the tiniest flicker on a monitor. As people scrambled, she moved to a desk, its surface cluttered with wires and mugs. Fingers flew over the keyboard like they were dancing in a rhythm only she could hear. Codes and numbers transformed into a lifeline, her thoughts knitting together solutions with the speed of light. In that serene space, surrounded by turmoil, the world fell away. Dim lights flickered, shadows darted, yet she focused on that glitch, that opportunity to save the day. Within moments, the server hummed back to life, fizzling loudly like a soda can popping open. Cheers erupted, drowning out the thumping in her chest. She beamed, pride swelling in her like the morning sun. But that moment of triumph didn't last. James Smith, the stern CEO, stood wide-eyed, respect breaking through his usually Captain Cold demeanor. As he watched her brilliance unfold, he felt a stir of admiration and an unsettling realization of how isolated he'd become in his own fortress of authority. Meanwhile, the team huddle, whispered a colleague, fear twinkling in her eyes. The room grew heavy with the weight of impending change. Rumors of an unexpected scholarship to Harvard slipped through the crevices, threatening to unravel their close-knit community. Could they really lose Emily now, just as they embraced her gift? Just when the air felt suffocating with finality, the fire alarm blared, shattering their fragile moment. It echoed chillingly, vibrating against walls that had seen moments of victory, but now seemed on the brink of chaos. Fear washed over Emily, the excitement of success twisting into a question. Had her quick fix pushed them all into danger? She stood there, pulse racing with uncertainty, friendships hanging by a thread, futures blended, dreams of a Harvard acceptance battling against the warmth of newfound connections. So many possibilities danced before her, each one pulling her toward different paths. And just like that, she found herself at a crossroads. The blaring alarm, Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're at it, leave a like to help me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. The blaring fire alarm pierced through Emily's exhilaration, a sharp knife slicing through the joyful chaos. Her heart pounded, but not from fear. This was a crossroads, a moment where everything could unravel, shifting the thick air of the tech office. In that heartbeat, her future seemed up for grabs, and the electricity of success twisted into something frightening. Emily felt the heat rising. The metallic tang of panic mingled with the lingering triumph of her earlier victory. She glanced around, searching for her friends, her new family. Their faces were pale, eyes wide and searching. The alarm pulsed loudly, as if mocking their worries. Each shriek, echoing uncertainty. "Get out! Now!" someone shouted, and the chaos turned momentarily tangible. Desks were abandoned, chairs pushed back with a clatter that reverberated in her ears. Emily's pulse quickened. What had she done? Her fix had worked, at least for a moment. Now the fire alarm sang its distressing song. Maybe it was all her fault. Then she spotted him. James, the CEO, was rooted in place, mouth moving, but no sound emerged. His eyes were fixated on something behind her, a shadow, changing shape, dark and jagged. It felt surreal under the fluorescent lights. Emily turned, only to be met with something that froze her blood. A figure stood there, wild-eyed and disheveled, an employee she had never noticed before. "They're coming for all of you," he cried, hands shaking, voice cracking like thunder in the storm. The room tensed, everyone holding their breath. The frantic energy spiraled into confusion. "The data breach! They're not stopping!" Shock rippled through the crowd. Murmurs erupted. "Data breach? What do you mean they're coming?" Anxiety spread like wildfire. Emily's chest tightened as if her heart was caught in a vice. She could feel eyes sliding over to her, silently blaming her for stoking the flames of fear she had just doused. She approached the frantic man, curiosity battling her caution. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice steady, despite the swirling chaos surrounding them. He stepped closer, wildness in his gaze. "The project we've worked on, it's compromised. Someone inside, they planned it. You fixed it, but it's not enough. They will shut everything down." Silence fell. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Emily felt the ground beneath her shift, the foundation she had rebuilt cracking. She had walked into this office as an unnoticed janitor, but now, in the face of this unstoppable storm of betrayal, she felt an identity morphing, an identity that was at stake. James stumbled back, shock etching deep lines on his face. "What do you mean, inside?" he struggled to comprehend. His authority now eclipsed by rising dread. The familiarity of his presence shattered. One of her colleagues shouted, "That can't be right! We're a family here! These are our friends!" But the unease brewed thick, weaving shadows where trust once flourished. Gossip and suspicion flickered in the air like faulty wires. Just as the atmosphere thickened, a sudden explosion shook the building. The sound echoed like thunder, rattling windows and sending shockwaves of terror through everyone as the lights flickered and fell dark. In that moment, where clarity once reigned, chaos erupted anew. She could hardly breathe, fear constricting her throat. It wasn't just the confusion or the alarm ringing in her ears. It was the very foundation of their world, unraveling like a frayed rope. All relationships weighed against the revelation. Who could be trusted now? What was real? As darkness enveloped them, Emily stood at the center of it all, a tether hanging between choices, between the brewing storm outside and the storm within. Would they survive this? Who was truly behind the chaos? And more importantly, would she still choose the bonds she had just begun to forge? That question lingered, suspended like a tightrope, waiting for footsteps that might never come. Emily stood frozen, the darkness swirling around her like a thick fog. As the adrenaline coursed through her veins, she could hardly breathe. The chaos around her intensified, each shout, each crash reverberating in her ears. She searched for answers, her heart racing as uncertainty gripped her. James, the once calm CEO, stumbled backward. Fear was etched into his features, his authority crumbling. "What do you mean, inside?" he repeated, confusion palpable. Emily felt the weight of his gaze, a mix of desperation and anger pinning her in place. But then, without warning, the building shook again. This time, a jolt that sent chills cascading down her spine. The shadows danced wildly, flickering with the emergency lights that pulsed erratically. A grim silence fell, the ambient noise morphing into an eerie stillness that hung heavy, like the calm before the storm. And then it hit, the screams, piercing and raw. A cloud of people forced through the exits, panic driving them into a stampede. Emily felt each heartbeat thud like thunder in her chest. But amid the chaos, one figure stood still. It was the frantic man, his eyes glazed with fright, mouth moving but no words coming out. Suddenly, the room filled with sirens wailing from outside. The fire alarm continued its shrill cry, but now it was joined by the distant sound of police vehicles, their lights flashing red through the windows. Emily's stomach twisted at the sight. Something big was happening. A storm was brewing, but not of nature's making. She turned back to the fearful crowd, feeling their despair seep into her skin. "We have to get out!" she yelled over the din. But her voice felt powerless against the rising tide of panic. Just as she was about to reach for someone, she caught a glimpse of a figure slipping through the crowd, clad in a hooded jacket. It moved with purpose, darting toward the exit. Instinct kicked in. "Wait!" she shouted. But the mystery figure was gone. Her eyes darted around, and that's when she noticed something on the floor. A flash drive, glinting in the low light. It shimmered like a beacon, drawing her attention with an almost magnetic pull. With her heart racing, Emily bent to pick it up, her fingers trembling. "Emily, don't!" James cried out from behind her, but it was too late. She clutched it tight, feeling the weight of it in her hand. She could sense the secrets it held, powerful enough to shatter everything. "Give it to me," James ordered, his voice now tinged with panic. Emily looked up, and in his eyes, she saw something dark, something primal. "It's not what you think. You need to trust me." His desperation ignited suspicion in her heart. "Trust you?" Emily echoed, her voice rising. "After everything, how can I?" Suddenly, Overhead lights blared back to life, flooding the room in stark clarity. And then, just as quick as the chaos started, it all came to a pause. Emily's pulse quickened. The unsettling changes in James' demeanor clashed with her recent victories. Then she heard a voice from above. A deep, boisterous laugh echoed down from the catwalks, too close for comfort. "Well played, James! But you didn't think it would be that easy, did you?" Her head whipped around. A figure emerged, half hidden in shadows, grinning like a predator. A chill crept over Emily as something swept through the room, hovering on the edge of comprehension. Her blood ran cold. James wasn't just another CEO. He was orchestrating the entire thing. The breach, the chaos, the manipulation. The chilling realization crashed over her, leaving her breathless. Everything she believed about her team, her family, was unraveling right before her eyes. In that moment, she understood. She was caught in a web spun from lies, betrayal lurking in the corners. The laughter cut through the air, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Didn't she want to fight? What was she going to do now? As confusion swirled and fear clawed at her throat, Emily knew she had a choice. Run or stand and face the storm brewing around her. But she wasn't just a janitor anymore. This was her moment. What would happen next? Would she expose the truth or continue the climb into the depths of this corporate nightmare? Emily stood frozen, the darkness swirling around her like a thick fog. As the adrenaline coursed through her veins, she could hardly breathe. The chaos around her intensified, each shout, each crash reverberating in her ears. She searched for answers, her heart racing as uncertainty gripped her. James, the once calm CEO, was now rooted in place, fear etched into his features. "What do you mean, inside?" Hay repeated, confusion palpable. Emily felt the weight of his gaze, a mix of desperation and anger, pinning her in place. But then, without warning, the building shook again, a jolt that sent chills cascading down her spine. The shadows danced wildly, flickering with the emergency lights that pulsed erratically. Silence fell, the ambient noise morphing into an eerie stillness that hung heavy, like the calm before a storm. Then it hit. The screams, piercing and raw. A wave of people forced through the exits, panic driving them into a stampede. Emily felt her heartbeat thud like thunder in her chest. But amid the chaos, one figure stood still. It was the frantic man, his eyes glazed with fright, mouth moving, but no words came out. Suddenly, the room filled with sirens wailing from outside. The fire alarm continued its shrill cry, but now it was joined by the distant sound of police vehicles, their lights flashing red through the windows. Emily's stomach twisted. Something big was happening, a storm brewing, but not of nature's making. "Get out! Get out!" she yelled over the din, but her voice felt powerless against the rising tide of panic. Just as she was about to reach for someone, she caught a glimpse of a figure slipping through the crowd, clad in a hooded jacket. Instinct kicked in. "Wait!" she shouted, but the mystery figure was gone. Her eyes darted around, and that's when she noticed something on the floor. A flash drive, glinting in the low light. It shimmered like a beacon, drawing her attention. With her heart racing, Emily bent to pick it up, her fingers trembling. "Emily, don't!" James cried out from behind her. But it was too late. She clutched it tight, feeling the weight of it in her hand. She could sense the secrets it held, powerful enough to shatter everything. "Give it to me," James ordered, panic tinging his voice. Emily looked up, and in his eyes she saw something dark, something primal. "It's not what you think. You need to trust me." "Trust you?" Emily echoed, anger flaring. "After everything, how can I?" Then, overhead lights blared back to life, flooding the room in stark clarity. Just as quick as chaos started, everything paused. Emily's pulse quickened. Then from behind James, a loud slam echoed. The door burst open, and on the other side stood a tall figure, face hidden but unmistakably powerful. "Enough!" the figure boomed, silencing the room. All eyes snapped to the intruder, including James's, which widened in pure horror. In a flash, the hooded figure from moments before reappeared, stepping into the doorway. It wasn't an employee. It was a woman, and she wasn't alone. Clutching the arm of the tall figure, she glared at James with a fierce intensity. "You thought you could hide it forever, didn't you?" she sneered, voice low and dangerous. Emily's heart raced. She had seen that woman before. At the all-hands meeting last month. The new chief technology officer. But now, she wasn't here for a friendly introduction. "Take your hands off me, Claire!" James barked, the authoritative facade slipping. But Claire stepped forward, her grin cold. "You don't get to call the shots anymore. This ends now." "A betrayal from within," Emily whispered, piecing it together. Heart pounding, she turned to James. "Is she right? Were you behind the data breach?" James's face morphed from rage to confusion, as if the truth was striking him anew. "No, I would never. You have to believe me." But then he faltered, eyes darting to Claire, who stepped further into the room. "You think she's the only one who knows, James? The timing has always been perfect, hasn't it? Just a series of unfortunate events leading us straight to this moment." Well played. The truth hit Emily like a freight train. James wasn't just an innocent bystander. He was part of a bigger scheme. And suddenly, everything twisted in her gut. All she had worked for, the bonds she had started to build, felt fragile, like glass about to shatter. Claire grinned wider, looking at the crowd. "It's time we expose the lies, don't you think? I'm sure you'd love to know who's really pulling the strings in this place." Emily shook her head, disbelief crashing over her. "What is happening?" The room felt electric, a pulse that threatened to consume them all. She had to choose a side. But which one was truly safe? The question rang loud and clear, drowning out the chaos around her. Who could she trust now? Emily froze, uncertainty suspending her in the electric air. James's desperation was palpable, and the weight of Claire's revelation pressed down like a heavy fog. "What do you mean, who's pulling the strings?" Emily whispered, the earlier excitement fading. Claire stepped forward, her eyes gleaming. "You, of all people, should know what it's like to be underestimated. But you've helped lift that veil. And now? What's this?" She paused, reveling in the attention that shifted to her. "What's this all about?" Emily's voice trembled, but she steadied herself. The crowd was watching, holding their breath. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the ground shook violently again, rattling everyone on their feet. A deafening crash echoed from above, shaking the ceiling tiles. Dust rained down as alarms continued to blare. But now they were drowned out by a rising tide of panic. Sharp and urgent. "Get down!" Someone screamed, scrambling for cover. For an instant, the chaos was overwhelming. Emily dropped to her knees, heart hammering in her chest, as everyone rushed toward the exits. But she couldn't move. Her gaze was fixed on James, who had finally lost the veneer of control. He looked afraid, truly afraid. Then, with a sudden and shocking clarity, the lights went out. Complete darkness fell, and the emergency lights flickered, casting haunting shadows. Fear infiltrated the air like an unwelcome mist. Murmurs of dread rippled through the crowd. "What is happening?" Emily shouted, but her words felt swallowed in the silence. Claire's voice broke through, low and fierce. "I'll end this myself!" And then it came. A blinding flash erupted from the ceiling, illuminating the room in a harsh glow before plunging it back into darkness. Emily squinted, disoriented, and when her vision cleared, she saw it. A massive screen had descended from the ceiling, flickering to life, displaying names, designations, and hidden truths. Secrets that no one wanted anyone to know. Gasps echoed and eyes widened. One name stood out like a scarlet letter: James Smith. The screen illustrated layers of deceit woven throughout the company. Transactions, expenses, and a trail of money funneled away to shadowy accounts. No, this isn't! James stumbled backward, horror stretching his features. That's not possible! The crowd erupted in disbelief. "James, how could you?" someone shouted, stepping back from him as if he were a stranger. But Emily's heart sank. This wasn't just about James anymore. Every whispered doubt she had lingered about the company, flooded back. Feelings of mistrust now materialized into a storm of realization. She turned to Claire. "What have you done?" she demanded, dread washing over her like icy water. Claire was unyielding. "I didn't do anything. The system did it for me. Your so-called family is built on lies. You had to see it for yourself." Just then, the lights flickered back on, revealing panicked faces, chaos enveloping the room. People were grappling with the revelations on the screen, fury and betrayal morphing into a tangible atmosphere. But then, as if directed from a sinister conductor, the screen flashed once more, and this time, another name appeared: Emily Johnson. Shock raced through the room, followed by a collective gasp. Data streamed down alongside her name, monitoring logs, timestamps of her cleaning rounds, each detail meticulously recorded. "What is this?" Emily's voice cracked, disbelief settling in her limbs. I didn't do anything wrong." Claire watched from the shadows, a smirk dancing on her lips. "Oh, but you did. You've been a pawn in this game, haven't you? The janitor who stumbled onto something bigger. They've been watching you. You'd think the walls would speak, right?" Shock coursed through Emily like ice water. Betrayal, fear, and confusion swirled into a storm inside her. All the lies, the uncertainty that had lingered, now seemed like chains she couldn't escape. The world around her spun. Was she truly part of this twisted web? The questions burned in her mind. Who had she really been all along? Darkness loomed at the edges of her thoughts, and in that moment she realized something chilling. Every relationship she had built, every tentative step she had taken, was hanging by a thread. What was real? Who could she trust? The foundations beneath her feet felt like shifting sand. Emily was standing at the chaotic center of it all. One decision away from unraveling the truth, or diving headfirst into the unknown? Would she confront the darkness, or would she be consumed by it? Emily stood still, the room buzzing with disbelief and fear. The screen pulsed with her name like a heartbeat, her secrets laid bare for everyone to see. She felt the weight of their glares, the shock rippling through the crowd like an electric current. James's face twisted with confusion, his usually calm demeanor shattered into pieces. Enough! Claire's voice sliced through the air. This isn't just about you, James. Or you, Emily. There's something much bigger at stake. She stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. We're not just losing a company. This is about loyalty, betrayal, and survival. You all need to wake up! Emily's stomach dropped. She opened her mouth to speak, but panic coursed through her veins, muffling her voice. The screen glitched, and then, in a striking twist, it flashed images, photos, videos, everything connected to the deep web of deceit. It wasn't just about financial misconduct. No, it was personal, relationships, friendships, hidden under a facade of smiles and handshakes. Who they were, what they wanted, it all began to unravel. Each face in the room was a thread in this tangled web. She saw her own face appear, but it was blurry, distorted. The whispers grew louder around her, gossip mingling with accusations. Faces she once trusted now seemed like enemies. Then it happened. A loud, shattering noise exploded from above. The ceiling buckled, plaster raining down like confetti in a storm. The veneer of reality cracked, and in that moment, everything changed. The lights flickered and went dark again, plunging them into a stifling blackness. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Then came the screams, a wave crashing over the crowd, drowning out even the fire alarm. Panic turned into chaos as bodies surged toward the exits, pushing and shoving, desperate to escape. "Stay calm," Claire shouted. But no one listened. Fear spread like wildfire, each shout escalating the volatility. Something whispered in the dark, cold and haunting. As the noise surged, Emily felt someone grip her arm. It was James, wide-eyed and breathless, his panic palpable. "We need to find a way out!" he yelled. But the chaos enveloped them, consuming their senses. Amid the disorder, a sound punctured through, a low, hollow laugh that echoed ominously in the darkness. It was Claire's voice, but twisted. "You think that's all?" she shouted, defiant, her laughter grating in the air. "This isn't the end. It's just the beginning." Then, without warning, the floor shook violently, and an explosion ripped through the air. It felt brutal, a shockwave hitting them all. Emily stumbled, reaching up for something to hold on to. In that instant, the ground beneath her feet cracked open, revealing a hidden passage, a dark void sucking in everything around. It felt like the center of a storm, raw, unyielding. She could hear the room's reverberations, cracking and splintering, everyone lost to fear and confusion. "No!" she screamed, instinctively trying to reach for James, but he slipped from her grasp. Swept away by the torrent of bodies, she watched in horror as he vanished into the chaos, lost to the storm of betrayal. And then, as she stood on the brink of despair, something emerged from the depths of that yawning chasm. A figure cloaked in shadow, devastatingly familiar. The flash of recognition hit her like ice. It was someone she never expected to see. Someone she thought was gone. Her heart raced. How could this be? Who were they? What did this mean for her, for everything she had known? As the darkness deepened and friendships crumbled, Emily faced the unknown. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a reckoning, and she was at the center of it all, teetering on the edge of a revelation so immense that it threatened to change everything she thought she knew. What would she do now? Emily stood at the edge of chaos, heart racing, as the shadows swallowed the room. The figure emerging from the darkness was hauntingly familiar, yet shrouded in uncertainty. Was this the moment everything changed? As the dust settled, she could see the figure clearer. It was her estranged brother, Mark, the very one she thought had disappeared years ago, swallowed by the world outside. "Mark?" she whispered, confusion bubbling into desperation. "What are you doing here?" He stepped into the flickering lights, and the crowd drew back, whispers igniting like sparks. Shock mingled with suspicion, eyes darting between Emily and Mark. "You shouldn't be here," he hissed, urgency lacing his voice. "Not now, not like this. They're coming for you." "What are you talking about?" Panic hit Emily like a wave. She longed to understand, to grasp what this all meant. But Mark's eyes, wide and frantic, told her everything. "That flash drive, it has everything," he shouted, fear sharpening his words. "You have no idea what you stumbled into. This is bigger than you or me. You're in danger." Then the ground shook once more, and debris rained down like confetti from a shattered dream. A few from the crowd screamed, backing away from the chaos, but Emily stood firm. "How could you know that?" Before he could respond, a blaring siren pierced through the din, echoing like a war cry. The urgency in the air thickened. Every moment stretched into eternity. Suddenly, Mark stepped closer, lowering his voice. "They've been tracking me, and you, and everyone who knows the truth." "Who?" she pressed, her voice trembling. "Who's tracking us?" Mark hesitated, glancing over his shoulder like a hunted animal. "The corporation. It's not just James, it's deeper. People are being silenced. They don't want anyone to know." The weight of his words slammed into her chest. The air felt thick with danger, her heart pounding like a prison drum. "What's on the flash drive, Mark?" "I can't explain right now," he urged. "Just trust me. We need to get out of here. Now." But before Emily could react, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into darkness. Gasps erupted, and the frenzy escalated. Shadows swirled like ghosts, each a haunting reminder of the unknown. Out of the chaos, she felt a sudden jolt, a hand grabbing hers, yanking her toward the back. "Emily, follow me." It was Claire, her face shadowed, but eyes blazing with determination. But just as Emily was torn between her brother and Claire, a loud crash split the air, the building shuddering violently. Everything fell into a cacophony of panic. The walls groaned, and Emily could taste the dense fear swirling around her. She had to choose, but the choice felt like quicksand swallowing her whole. Suddenly, from the darkness, another revelation emerged, echoing across the room like thunder. "I know the truth about you, Mark," Claire yelled, her voice slicing through the chaos. "I knew you'd come back. You're the reason all of this is happening." Emily turned to Mark, confusion mixing with horror. "What do you mean?" But before he could respond, Claire stepped forward, her face twisted with fury. "You thought you could just waltz in here and change everything? But you're the reason this company has been at the brink. You've been feeding information. Stop!" Mark shouted, his voice raw. "You don't understand!" But the tension coiled tighter, snapping like a frayed wire. The weight of revelation fell on her, and the audience held its breath, suspended in doubt and betrayal. Suddenly, like a lightning strike, the truth hit Emily. This wasn't just chaos anymore. It was a conspiracy. The brother she once trusted now stood at the crossroads of deceit. She felt the ground shift beneath her, and the truth was a storm gathering force. Everything she thought she knew about her family, about her work, about her life, cracked apart like painted glass. Who could she trust? In that moment of revelation, a single question loomed over her, heavy and suffocating. Where was the line drawn between family and betrayal? Would she ever feel safe again? Emily stood at the edge of chaos, heart racing as the shadows swallowed the room. The figure emerging from the darkness was hauntingly familiar, yet shrouded in uncertainty. Was this the moment everything changed? As the dust settled, she could see the figure clearer. It was her estranged brother, Mark, the very one she thought had disappeared years ago, swallowed by the world outside. "Mark," she whispered, confusion bubbling into desperation. "What are you doing here?" He stepped into the flickering lights, and the crowd drew back, whispers igniting like sparks. Shock mingled with suspicion, eyes darting between Emily and Mark. "You shouldn't be here," he hissed, urgency lacing his voice. "Not now, not like this. They're coming for you." "What are you talking about?" Panic hit Emily like a wave. She longed to understand, to grasp what this all meant. But Mark's eyes, wide and frantic, told her everything. "That flash drive, it has everything," he shouted, fear sharpening his words. "You have no idea what you stumbled into. This is bigger than you or me. You're in danger." Then the ground shook once more, and debris rained down like confetti from a shattered dream. A few from the crowd screamed, backing away from the chaos, but Emily stood firm. "How could you know that?" Before he could respond, a blaring siren pierced through the din, echoing like a war cry. The urgency in the air thickened, every moment stretched into eternity. Suddenly, Mark stepped closer, lowering his voice. "They've been tracking me. And you, and everyone who knows the truth." "Who?" she pressed, her voice trembling. "Who's tracking us?" Mark hesitated, glancing over his shoulder like a hunted animal. "The corporation. It's not just James. It's deeper. People are being silenced. They don't want anyone to know." The weight of his words slammed into her chest. The air felt thick with danger, her heart pounding like a prison drum. "What's on the flash drive, Mark?" "I can't explain right now," he urged. "Just trust me. We need to get out of here, now!" But before Emily could react, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into darkness. Gasps erupted, and the frenzy escalated. Shadows swirled like ghosts, each a haunting reminder of the unknown. Out of the chaos, a sound pierced through, an unholy roar echoing from deeper within the building. ran like a wildfire. Terror flooded the room. "Get back!" Claire screamed, pushing through the throng, her eyes wide with panic. But as she turned to lead, the floor jolted. An explosion shook them all. Emily stumbled, grasping onto Mark's arm. Then, before she could fully process it, the walls began to crack, revealing something horrifying behind. A figure stepped through the crevice, cloaked in darkness, eyes gleaming with malice. The person was familiar. Emily gasped. It was her mentor, Sarah, a figure who had vanished mysteriously 5 years ago under unexpected circumstances. "Sarah? How? What are you doing here?" Emily shouted, dread knotting her stomach. "The truth was always within grasp," Sarah intoned, her voice dripping with mockery. "And you stupid girl, you're right in the thick of it now." A collective murmur swept through the crowd. Sarah stepped forward into the dim light. "You think Mark is here to save you?" "No, he's been part of the scheme from the start." Emily's heart dropped like a stone. "No, that's not true. He wouldn't." "Oh, but it is," Sarah hissed, her expression twisted with a dark pleasure. "This isn't just about you or your brother. This is about the fall, the downfall of this company, the downfall of you all." She gestured at the screen, still buzzing with stolen secrets. "You're all puppets, and it's time for the strings to be cut." Betrayal wrapped around Emily like a vice. "Mark, tell me it's not true." "No," he pleaded, eyes wide with panic. "I didn't know." But confusion spiraled into chaos. In that moment, a horrific scream cut through the crowd, a sound so visceral it shattered her very core. The lights flickered and buzzed, casting shadows that stretched ominously. Then Sarah grinned, revealing the flash drive in her hand, the object of danger like a grenade ready to explode. "You thought you could fix it? But I buried the real secrets. Time to end this." Emily's breath caught in her throat. The room felt suddenly small, suffocating. What had she gotten into? The weight of the unfolding truth hit her like a wave. Every bond she thought she could trust festered with lies. And as the shadows loomed larger, she realized her choices had never been hers to make. Would they survive the unraveling storm? Who could she trust now? Emily stood at the edge of chaos, her heart pounding in her chest as Sarah's words hung in the air, twisting like a knife. The dark room pulsed with tension, while the flickering lights cast an eerie glow on their faces. Eyes darted between Sarah and Mark, confusion splitting them apart like a fragile thread. "Mark, is he true?" Emily couldn't breathe, her voice barely a whisper. The fear in her chest turned to ice. "I didn't," Mark began, desperation etched on his face. But Sarah interrupted, a sharp laugh cutting through. "Ha! Didn't know what, Mark? That you were feeding information to the enemy? You think you can just walk back in here and pretend to be the hero?" She stepped closer, eyes blazing. "You've played your part beautifully." Mark's expression twisted as he tried to screen Emily from the truth. "You have to believe me. I was trying to—" "Enough!" Claire's voice rose above the noise. "We don't have time for this!" But chaos erupted. Another explosion rocked the building, sending everyone reeling. The lights flickered violently, plunging them into darkness yet again. Emily stumbled backward, her heart racing. The echo of broken glass crunched underfoot, a reminder of the fragility around them. The crowd began to panic, shoving toward the exits. "Get out! Get out!" someone screamed. Shouts blurred together, a whirlwind of confusion and fear. Mark grabbed Emily's arm. "We need to move!" But before they could take another step, the wall behind them gave way, and debris tumbled into the room like a wave crashing down. Dark smoke billowed out, thick and choking. Through the haze, a silhouette appeared, a massive figure stepping into the dim lights, backlit like a shadow from a nightmare. Emily's breath hitched. "Who? By?" But before she could finish, the figure emerged fully, his face barely illuminated. It was James. "You should have listened, Sarah," he commanded, voice booming, filled with a powerful resonance that silenced the room. "What are you doing?" Claire shrieked, eyes wide, disbelief coursing through her. "You were supposed to be out. You were meant to make sure this didn't happen." James laughed darkly. "Oh, you foolish girl. It was always part of the plan. I never intended it to end like this. This company, it's a shell. This chaos, it clears the way for something bigger." Emily's mind raced. The weight of betrayal bore down on her. "What do you mean?" she gasped. With a sudden flick of his wrist, James signaled, and the lights brightened with an unnatural glow. He stepped forward, revealing the truth etched on his face. Something primal, ancient, and terrifying. "I've been waiting for the right moment," he sneered. "A moment for control. A full takeover." He gestured around him, the chaos swirling like a storm. "You're all pawns in my game, or collateral damage. I never wanted heroes. I wanted destruction." Emily felt her heart drop. "You planned all of this?" Panic seized her, teeth gnashing together, and tears pricked at her eyes. "Why?" "You'd never understand, Emily," he spat, deeper truths resonating in his tone. "But one thing is clear. None of you are safe anymore." And just like that, reality shattered. The crowd's disbelief froze in a visceral tableau, a moment stretching into eternity. Clarity hit Emily like a blow. Everything she believed splintered. She was deeper in a web of lies than she ever knew. Now it felt like darkness was swallowing her whole. The world felt heavy. What had she stumbled into? Who could possibly be trusted? The answer twisted in her gut. Would anyone survive this storm? With that realization, Emily's mind raced back to the flash drive, now a quiet threat in her pocket. A weapon or a burden? It felt like her choice could change everything again. As fear rippled through the crowd, one burning question lingered in the air. Could there be a chance to fight back? Or would they all be swept away by the unfathomable tide? Emily felt the room tremble under the weight of betrayal. James's chilling words echoed in her mind, swirling with confusion and dread. But as the panic mounted, something shifted within her. No, she wouldn't let them pull her under. "Mark," she shouted, desperation flaring in her chest. "We can stop this, right? We can bring this all down." Mark's eyes filled with concern. "We have to fight back. We can't just stand here." Then Claire stepped forward. "They'll use the flash drive against us. We need to destroy it." She pointed at Sarah, who clutched it like it was a lifeline. Shadows flickered across her face, deceit twisting with determination. "Do you really think you can stop what's about to happen?" Sarah sneered, stepping back, just as another explosion shook the floor. Dust fell like confetti, and the lights flickered ominously. Cries of terror filled the air, each sound crashing against the chaos. Emily took hold of Mark's hand. "We move now!" She tugged him toward the exit. It was time to fight for more than just survival. As they raced down the corridor, adrenaline fueled their escape. Heartbeats thundered in their ears. But amidst the chaos, there was a hint of purpose. "We can't let them win!" Mark shouted, breathing hard. They reached a door marked Security. Emily kicked it open. Inside, screens blinked urgently. "This is it," she said. "If we can't expose them, we can't escape." But as they approached the monitors, Claire joined them. "The company is corrupt. We have to show everyone." "Let's do it!" Emily felt the heat rise inside her, the fire of determination burning bright. Mark and Claire worked rapidly, fingers flying over keyboards as they navigated the tangled web of deceit. Other voices emerged in the chaos. Fearful whispers filled the corridor, the team rallying to them, caught in the whirlwind of revelation. "Are they really behind this?" someone gasped. "Yes," Claire confirmed, her eyes blazing. "But we have the chance to turn the tide." They gathered, close together now, fear morphing into solidarity. Then Emily made eye contact with Mark. "This is for us. For all of us." With a final click, the screen illuminated their faces. Names, dates, evidence against James's treachery flashed before them. Whispers of victory filled the air. The truth would not stay hidden. But suddenly, the lights flickered again, and a deafening crash exploded outside. "They're coming," someone shouted. "Panic returning." "Now!" Emily yelled, leading everyone into action. They stormed through the doors, onto the floor, determined to show the world the truth. Together, side by side, they faced the gathered employees. "Listen!" Emily shouted, heart racing. "This is it. We're not just workers. We're a family. What we uncovered today can save us." Whispers turned to gasps, and the tide shifted. Everyone's eyes darted to the screen. James stepped forward, his body tense with anger. "You think you can turn them against me? They'll see you as traitors!" But his words began to falter, fear creeping into his eyes as he sensed the switch. Mark stepped up, voice steady. "This isn't just about James. This is about us, cutting the strings. This is your chance to take back what's been stolen from you." The room buzzed for a moment. Then, with a chorus of agreement, employees rallied around them. No one would be a puppet anymore. In an instant, everything shifted. As the truth flickered across the screens, joy and relief lit their faces. One by one, the workers stepped away from the shadows, hearts raw but healing. They had a choice, a chance for accountability. As Emily stood at the center, surrounded by the warmth of solidarity, she felt the heavy weight of tones shift. All the fear, all the uncertainty had led her here. Together, they faced the storm, hope replacing anxiety. But beyond that moment, the future loomed, wild and uncertain. Would this spark change? Would they really take back what belonged to them? And as the echoes of their rebellion rang through the air, one question lingered. What would they do with the truth now that they had it? And hey, before you go, this is the time to show your support. You must subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others discover this journey. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about the ending, because I want to hear from you. And share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to know the truth. Don't wait 1 second longer. Join this moment and let's keep this community alive and thriving together.